difference and like different time zones and everything that we have to pay attention to whenever we want to talk to each other or anything. So it does get kind of lonely over here for me by myself. What about you?
And so to walk around, right? You said it's Jamaica, right? Hey, but all your people, no, but all your people back home, you know, y'all been hit with a hurricane right now, right? Your people good?
Yeah, I actually got used today that my grandmother used to make this, so I'm actually really cute.
So, I mean, kicking things off with that topic, navigating long distance relationships in the midst of like a tragedy, a lot of tragedy, but you know, something severe like that, like Category 5 hurricane is kind of it feels like America right now. You don't know, you can't really get the immediate answer. You maybe 10, 15 hours behind. You know, let's talk about that.
I mean, for me, I was anxious the whole week that it happened. It didn't help, of course, that my family was also like, I guess they keep me in check or like keep me in the loop, but like being so far away and again, like not knowing what was going to happen, especially my grandmother, because she literally lives in St. Elizabeth, and that was one of the biggest disaster. That was literally where the eye of the hurricane and everything like hit. So like again, they didn't have comms for the longest. The roads are like really bad. They had to get airlift her, or a helicopter had to come and get her. But those few days of not hearing anything, and it was just like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna hear goonies or bangs at the end of this? What does that mean? Like, it was anxiety, it was to the max. I was very stressed, but again, like I said, it all worked out. It ended up working out. It doesn't do that often, right? But in my case, it did work out, and but that distance again, like, kind of makes that moment was like maybe that needs to be close to home. Like there was those thoughts of like, just how much, right, that we give and sacrifice when we raise our right hand and put our hands, our names facing each other.
I do want to say, shout out to one of the people, one of our members too, host Sergeant Brinson. She's not here right now. So, right now we kind of navigating, starting up with the exercise and everything like that. So she couldn't be here, but we do want to give her that shout out as well. But you guys haven't had a chance to actually listen to George. So you got somebody right here now, but you want to talk about your piece with own business, passing the time. You got anything like that? There you go.
So everybody, I'm George. I go by Fresh Leonard. Uh, so I'm married. We've been married for 5 years, and we got married during COVID. So we spent a lot of time together at the beginning of our marriage. But shortly after we got married, I got an assignment for a short tour. Luckily, it was also in Europe. My wife is European, so she could come back and forth to see me. But it was the first time she had to kind of be separated from me. And we have a little, which a lot of that pressure was on her. She had to stop working, take care of the baby. So I'm protecting, providing Bluetooth pretty much. And for me being in the military, right, I always say I'm from everywhere to nowhere at the same time. I'm used to it. Like there's always a means to an end in my household. I'm always thinking, living by heroes, So I'm already thinking like when to move, when to go, and making strong connections while I'm somewhere because that's your new family, that's your extended family. Whereas my wife, who was born and raised in Germany, it was the first time people leave, or someone this close to her leaving. It was a shock to her, and I had to give her that grace and kind of help her through it. One thing that we did that kind of helped us was we started watching Abbott Elementary. We both are educators, so we thought it was pretty fun. And at the same time, I'm exchanging culture with her, right? Like, hey, like this show is based on in Philly. I was like from Jersey. It's kind of like what I would do. How is it in your school district? Stuff like that. So we even got to know each other a little bit better through the long distance. We also started playing games together. So if you guys know the game, It Takes Two, you can't win that game unless you play with the other person. Yeah, so we started playing, have apps and stuff that we play together, sharing milestones, having consistent hey, I'm gonna talk to you during my lunch break on this day. Those things I think helped me as well as helped her, and then getting her involved with the union. So she started going to the CE events, getting involved with the spouses, and then now it's kind of innate. She started doing that when she got here, and we're together. I think the best thing people can do when it comes to the long distance is also know who you are without your partner. A lot of people assimilate to their partner. Right? So my wife is also an artist, but she's not a spoken word artist. She's a painter. Right? But she like dropped all of her things to try to be a poet, like me, and now I'm gone. She don't know who Cindy is at the end of the day. It's up to you. So I think a big thing that you should do when you are together is tap into each other's interests. Figure out who you are without your partner. You don't have to assimilate and be the same person. So that when that person leaves or there is some distance that's never went to the military, you can fall back on those things, those core things that make you who you are. So I think my wife did have that. I helped her through it, and of course coming to visit me and having a plan to see each other, right? Especially if you have a short tour. All right, let's make a plan where we will see each other.
Yeah, I got a story. I got a bunch of stories, but I got a similar story, I guess, when, so my previous relationship, I was in a relationship for 10 years, and high school, high school sweetheart and everything like that. But I think I was in New Mexico as my first duty location. And then, hey, can you come? We go from Louisiana. Let's get together. Let's come over here. You come to Mexico, see something different. I think maybe a year after that, military said, hey, non-involved, you're going to Osaka. Man, I didn't ask for this. But that's just me being honest. You know, I didn't ask for it, but I'm going. I'm trying to be a recruiter. And I can be a recruiter. I can kind of be, you know, with my spouse and everything like that. But hey, that happened. So I ended up being there in Korea. It was supposed to be 12 months. Ended up being there 15 months. And it's very nerve wracking. But like you said something earlier. You have to find little ways to connect with your partner. And it does. You said something earlier where it does require sacrifice. You have to be able to really, you have to put yourself to the side a little bit and give, find a little give because the military already is going to throw a lot of things at us, but your spouse name isn't on their life. So they kind of don't understand it the way we understand it because we walk it. So helping them understand, hey, this is what's going on. It's a little bit of a tough time right now. Hey, I might not have no time right now as the middle of exercise, but after the exercise, we can go on the date together. Let's go do this, let's go do that. So that was some things that I learned from navigating my last relationship. I needed to find those little things that matter and help me. Whether it's like, oh, let's learn something together. Oh, let's do, you said, let's think, let's do something together. But I can't take care, or I can't be a good partner to you without being a good partner to myself first. So that's the big thing that I kind of learned. You got to be able to take care of you before you're going to help take care of everybody else. So this is a lot, you know. It's hard to deal with sometimes, and some people are just not uncomfortable because you have a lot of insecurities that you can go on. And then it's just you by yourself a lot of times, so you have a lot of time to just think about, hey, man, what is going on? And our brains are sometimes kind of wired to think negative automatically. That's something we don't always is. But you have to find the positive to help you get over the hump and realize things are going to take a turn for the best. They're going to be good. So that's my story. You know, long distance, but it's a bunch. You know, I'm a family man too. At the end of the day, I don't have any kids personally, but I'm the oldest of four. You know, and I treat my aunt like she's not, my older sister, whatever, things like that in that nature. Where I want to make sure everybody's taken care of. But I'm over here, 15 hours ahead of them. So right now, I'm on my way. They are asleep. So when things go on, like you said, the hurricane, Rumfield, wherever you want to go by right now, it's hard because I want to be there and I want to make sure everything's good. So that kind of makes a little bit of anxiety, sometimes it's like I don't know. And when you don't know and have that uncertainty, you kind of worry about things. But one thing that kind of got me over the hump was I don't trip on things that I can't control. And that's something I always say to the truth. I said I go by, but you got to hold yourself accountable to it as well. So that's my skill. Those business. I guess the other thing is talking about war, talking about some other things. Anybody, have a skill that they want to talk about, have something that they want to share with long distance, PCS and TDY. I know, especially as military, but even if the spouses, I mean, it's hard on the spouses. Can we get anybody point of view on that aspect? If you have some.
You want to wait while we wait for somebody to check the chat is active?
Yeah, if you want to just tell them they can raise their hand.
Yeah, so if y'all just want to raise your hand, or you can store it in the chat and just do it out loud. One thing I will say, I also spread this is intentionality, right? So my last place, I got lucky that they gave us a lot of autonomy when it came to PT. So I can PT before work, or I can PT once we got off before 4:30, right? But because of the time difference, my daughter goes down at 7, where I was in Portugal, my wife being in Germany. If I PT after work, I wouldn't be able to see my daughter before she went to sleep. By the time I was done with the gym, I was on the volleyball team, things like that. So the sacrifice or the intentionality was, all right, cool, I guess I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning to go work out, so I can go talk to my family. Throughout the day, for sure, like I talk to my wife a little bit during lunch, but definitely I can talk to my daughter before she goes to work. For those days that I was lazy, or I stayed up too late playing video games, or I procrastinated with my homework, I lost a lot of intentionality with my family because of that. Because then, boom, I had PT, I had to get at the end of the day. Now when I'm working out, I'm like, damn, maybe I can superset everything. So I get home, just like I said goodnight to my kid. Oh, she had a bad day that day, or she's tired, so she went to bed a little bit earlier. I start to feel a little bit bad, right? And that starts to play with you too. So my biggest thing that if you take anything away from what I'm saying is find that intentionality. Even here, being in Kadena, being so busy, the intentionality of waking up a little bit earlier so I can take out the trash and my wife doesn't have to worry about that on Tuesdays and Fridays. That little bit right there, that little bit of intentionality shows her so much love. So when I come home and I'm drained, maybe I can't give everything that she deserves. At least I have that intentionality at the beginning. That kind of helps save the relationship before it needs to be saved. And Dr. P, you can correct me if I'm doing some wrong pop psychology, but that's definitely what, and that's something we do too. We try to, like, every other week sit down and tell each other, like, hey, what could I have done better for you this week, and where did you show up for me this week? We try to get neutral, so we usually start off with a kiss, and then we say that, and we say, like, hey, like, this week I really was having a rough day. It would really be nice if you just would have did the dishes. But I really appreciate that you cooked and that you did this and you played with the kids and things like that. So you kind of like that feedback, letting your partner know where you are, especially because if you PCS or if you go through something tough, like deploy, go on a short tour, you never had those tough conversations. You never given that feedback. I'm like, hey, I appreciate you for doing this. Hey, I wish you would do this a little bit more. Now you're just creating more strain on your relationship because now there's distance to add to it, kind of like compounds. So definitely just be intentional, even when you're at home station. For you have to go through this distance to pass the time. You and your partner can reflect on all these good things that you're doing intentionally. So, like I said, it can be something as small as like wake up a little bit early so I can give my wife a kiss and not run out of the house so I can make it to work on time. Park a little bit closer, whatever the case is, those little small things add up. Hopefully your partner appreciates it, hopefully they'll reciprocate those things. But try to be intentional when it comes to while you're on station before you even separate.
It's really nice. I'm not gonna speak for the singles, because
Yeah, please do.
Bob said, you know what I'm saying? So, at least for, so for me, again, I don't have any family here, right? I have my military family, but that's different, right? And so when a lot of times to get, or past the time, when I need to pass the time so I don't get into my head, I don't get anxiety, I don't get like depressed, like, oh my gosh, what's happening, stay center or anything like that. For me, again, going out and being involved in other things, as you said, right, you have to know yourself, right? So taking that time to know, okay, well, who should, what does Shade like, right? Am I okay with being alone? Because if we realize that going through life, we always have someone, right? When you're born, you have your family there, always, like, you have siblings, you have your siblings there fighting with you, you get older, so on and so forth. As you go through school, you have your friends and stuff. And there's never really a time when you're truly alone to really figure out, like, well, who am I and all that stuff. Now, during the time that you are with other people, yeah, you're still figuring out yourself and stuff like that. But there will come a time when it's like, all right, well, I'm by myself and I want to go here, but I usually go here with people. Do I make the choice to still go and see if I'll enjoy it by myself or see if I'll meet some new friends, or do I kind of be a homebody? And I'm not gonna lie, I love my home. I love my bed, like, especially after work, go home, don't call me. But again, there are those times where if there's an activity going on, or there's something going on in the local area, or if I just need to take a trip, like, I'll do that. Especially here in CBG, I'm not sure if it's entire day, but I know like every month we typically get a calendar of what's happening in the local area, and it's like, okay, this event is happening. That sounds cool. Maybe I can go do it. On base, we have ITT, which is a travel agency. They'll tell you like, hey, every month they also send out things on their Facebook, they'll post a calendar that says, hey, we're taking a trip to Tokyo. We are doing here, get involved in those things, because not only does it help pass the time, but you're figuring out yourself as you go, but while having fun and learning and gaining that cultural differences that not many people actually have the chance to see and experience. But being in the military, we get to do that because you never know where you're going to be switched to. But that always helps, and then of course leaning on your military family, the family that you create here in the military, wherever you go. Again, that's one of the greatest things I think that being in the military does, is that wherever you go, you can literally create a family there, and get close to people. People understand what you're going through, because it's very common in the military to move out, right? 2 3 years, 4 years, and so getting in that mindset of active duty is always easy. And others that aren't in the same position as we are, they feel hard, but they also teach you how to navigate through that with always helping. But I actually, so how long have you been? 12 years. How long have you been? Okay. So I actually, if you guys don't mind, I actually wanted to bring up my superintendent, because we've had a lot of conversations, and he's been in 20 years. So, and he's moved around a lot. He's been deployed everything. I didn't call him old. Oh my God. You are young as you feel for me. See, anyway, so I actually want to bring him up if he doesn't mind. Sergeant Diaz, come on up here.
It's a curve, though. Never mind.
It's just crazy if we do. So, in your time, oh, do you say hi again? Sorry, yes. So, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself and, like, I mean, I know you probably have a couple, but I guess your hardest distance. Whether it's known or
Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin. I go by PS. This is kind of impromptu, so yes, I've been almost 21 years. A whole lot of that time has been spent overseas, away from America, away from everybody I know, everything I know. And a lot of times it has been really hard. I've had to learn to rely on my military family, my wingmen, my just the people around me. So speaking of distance and relationships, personal close relationships, the longest time I've spent away from my wife was on our deployment. I went to LED, so it was a really tough assignment, but was there for 6 months. It was our first time like being apart since we got married. And one of the things I learned is that when we would talk, it wasn't really connecting when I would just be like, yeah, it's hot. I saw a fox today. I did some paperwork. Yes, we were communicating, but there was we weren't building the relationship at all. So very quickly, I learned how to adjust that and actually talk about how I was feeling. That's something that's always come difficult to me just because of how I was raised. Definitely take your feelings, push them way down, and don't deal with them. But yeah, just over that course of the deployment, I learned, hey, I actually need to talk about my feelings, what I want to do, my hopes, dreams. That really helped to connect us. As far as just when I was single, because that was most of my career, single overseas, learning to reach out to my airmen, to my wingmen, really having conversations with them, relying on them. I've hit some really low points, hit some really dark times, but I always had my wingmen there to rely on. A lot of the times, yes, they picked me up and they kept me going, and I've had to do the same for them.
I don't know if you can speak on that, but has she ever like told you what her initial feelings were when you left? She, I know, like on your end again, as active duty, right? You've been through many moves, and I'm guessing by the time Mama got to the picture, you've been used to the moving, where you know how to separate certain things in your mind, but Mama, this was like the first time. Did she like ever tell you how she felt? And how did you deal with that?
So yeah, we did talk about that, how she was feeling. Luckily, her friends and family really came together. So my wife's also European. We moved to New Jersey when I got assigned to McGuire, and that's where I deployed from, excuse me. So as soon as we found out I was deploying, her parents immediately like, cool, we're scheduling a trip. We're going to be out there for 3 months. Her best friend said, as soon as your parents are gone, that she was going to come and stay with her. So initially, my wife was nervous but a little excited about the separation. She's like, okay, this will give me some time to myself. I'll be able to focus on what I want to do, what I need to do. And then she just got slammed with all sorts of friends and family. Over the entire course of my deployment, she ended up having like 2 months to herself. But during those 2 months is when we're really able to connect through our conversations. I'd say the biggest piece for her, because since we've been married, we met in Italy. She lived with me for 2 years there. Then we went to Korea. Then we went to New Jersey, and now we're here. So most of the time she's been with me has been spent away from what she knows. And she is very deliberate in staying connected to her friends and family. Scheduling times once a week to talk to them, or just her parents get a wild whim and they call her, or she'll do the same for her parents. But she's always making sure she's keeping in contact. And it's not just a quick, hey, how are you doing? Yeah, the weather's nice here. Okay, talk to you later. No, they will have conversations for hours about just anything and everything.
I appreciate that.
What'd you say? Can I go away now?
Yes.
I got a face for radio. Can you clap it up for him real fast?
Thank you. Is anyone that is watching your team, do you guys have any stories, or how do you guys feel about being away from family? What are your thought processes? What are you guys doing to pass your time? If anyone wants to speak, you can raise your hand or you can undo your mute.
But you know, I have fun all the time. If you guys don't want to just get on the mic, you can just, unmute your mic at any time you want to speak and you're over there. If you're on it virtually, if you want to say something, just tell me, hey, I got something to say. But I think when you navigate long distance relationships, no matter who it might be with. You know, we talked about a lot of relationships with our spouse, partner, whatever the case may be, but friends, family, I think one big thing that you need to make sure that you do, you want to make sure that you're being authentic, you're being genuine, so when it's time to have a conversation, no matter if it's like a 2 minute, 10-minute conversation, I know you mentioned earlier, how are you? It's how are you? Well, that's not really bringing no substance to the conversation. So, it's kind of you just kind of going through the motions. So you want to make sure that you be genuine when you come out. Hey, I had a long day. Okay, well, you got my attention. I'll tell you about what happened. What's going on? Ask those questions. Be engaged when you want to. Show your partner that you care, and that's going to help you and your partner, no matter who it might be, get over the hump of that distance. I think long distance isn't bad, but you have to be able to, do your due diligence early and do the work before the long distance comes. So when the distance comes, it's just like smooth sailing at that point. Yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of bumps in the road, but who don't? I mean, it's like everything is up and down sometimes. So being able to navigate it once you do things early, it's pretty easy. I think at that point, I've had a couple of different long distance relationships. I don't think distance is necessarily a problem. I think you just need to make sure that you do things ahead of time to kind of help that. So when those problems do come up, it's like, oh, I know my partner. And my mom, she's tired right now. She's not going to talk. Let me not call her right now. I'll call her every morning. And she has a long day at work. Just understanding and knowing the other person on the other side of the phone, or maybe help you kind of get over that. So that's one thing that I know from friends, family, whatever. I've been overseas in those 4 years. I've been in military aid, but back home, it's always been long distance, so just, hey man, this is what's going on right now in my life. What's going on in your life? And then we talk about it right then and there, like, man, it's been a rough year, or I'm editing videos, or I'm doing this. Man, you doing this? Tell me about it in the midst, and just have that kind of conversation. I think that's what we really need. That's what really going to help. So,
I think knowing the resources for your significant other before you deploy, before you have a long distance, helps a lot. So I don't know if you have to go through this, sir, but since I went to the short tour after the base where I met my wife, we did a DRO. Did you have to do that, or did she come with you too? Cool?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. All right. So yeah, I didn't do it. Didn't have to. We learned about the DRO, which is dependents remain overseas. Since my wife was German, we had place off days. This made things so much easier. However, as we were going through the process, we found out even though she's command sponsor for my orders, we have this DRO from AFDC, she still has to get a power of attorney just to do things, just to pay the bills, just to take care of the car or everything like that. And I think if I would have left my wife at the base without setting up the DRO, setting up the power of attorney, trusting her to be able to do the power of attorney, right? Because you don't have to trust, that's when I had more stress in the relationship. Even when we signed the general power of attorney, the paralegal, you sure? I was like, my wife right behind me, bro. He was like, he was all the time, you sure? I was like, yes. Yeah, but that's why I said have those tough conversations early in the relationship, right? We talk about finances, we talk about what we really care about, core beliefs, right? So giving her the power of attorney, setting up the dependents remain overseas, getting all the contracts extended and her name added to them, right? That made me feel like really, really weird, you know what I mean? And it helped her so much when I left because she could just knock everything out. She could do things. She can go to these appointments, no problem, and they're not asking, oh, where's your husband, where's your spouse, and things like that. So kind of look into those resources too. And if you have troops and you find out that maybe they're going to be separated or whatever, take care of their family. Shout out to Sergeant Bart. I know when Sergeant Bobby deployed, he made it a point to invite Lucinda to all the events that we had going on in CFP. And that stood out to me a lot because he didn't really have to do that. No one asked him to do that, but he helped out. And he'll even pass it up to the shop, like, hey, like, she needs help with the car, like, start in, or hey, when's this event going? I'm gonna pick her up and babysit her, they can be at this Thanksgiving, things like that. Like, I really, really loved that, and that really made an impression on me. And I was like, okay, cool. I need to pay attention to that. Anybody else is anybody else is going to separate because you're part of the family. Because you and our unit, you're part of the family. I think so. I mentioned her a lot. I talked about my wife a lot. And yeah, that's my garden. Everything about her helped me grow. So I mentioned earlier that this is an experience for her. This is the first time she's leaving her country, kind of experiencing what I'm experiencing by being out of away from Jersey. We made it out. Yes, we made it out of Jersey. But my wife is dealing with that too. So I'd like to invite her up to the mic to talk about her experience.
You want to go off the sponsor?
Come on.
We're got you front and center.
There you go.
What about you?
Can I say something too?
Hey. Oh, my boy.
And shout out to the village that's taking care of the kids. All right, so I know you listened a little bit to take care of family. Pretty much, we're talking about just how dealing with long distance in a relationship. What are some tips, tricks, what are some things you think you could do, or you can message you to share some lessons learned, wrong, things, good, bad, ugly, just what is it? You got it.
I'm Cindy, first wife, so I think the tip I definitely can give is stay busy when your partner's gone. Be your own person, because it's always hard when you are just one person with your partner and then the partner's gone.
I think y'all in sync.
Because then when your partner is gone and you realize, oh, I don't have anything to myself, like what am I going to do now? I'm kind of lost. So try to find your own hobbies, do your own thing. Try to take advantage of things you can do. For example, like I love sleep, especially since we have kids. So usually when the kids go to bed, we hang out and watch TV or have conversations. But when he's gone, my bedtime is when the kids' bedtime is. So trying to take advantage of things I wouldn't do when he is home. Things I like, art, meet up with friends, have friends over. It's definitely helping just to stay busy. And then I would say communication is key. That's probably what everybody says, but what I mean with that is don't message each other. Message each other 24/7. If you are in contact the whole day, when it's finally time for you to talk to your partner on the phone, what are you going to talk about? If you were messaging all day, just talk about your day, about what happened yesterday.
Hey.
Yeah, that's definitely something I would advise. Just to stay busy, communicate, and don't stop dating. Just because you like across the world doesn't mean you cannot date. What we used to do is we FaceTime each other, we watch the same show, trying to start and pause at the same time. It's definitely a challenge, a good challenge. Yeah, just and trust each other. Like if you don't trust each other, then one, you should wonder why you don't trust each other, and two, are you meant for each other? Because trust is definitely the foundation of every relationship. When it comes to friendships, to this relationship, your partner might not have internet all the time, so don't question why you're just messaging me back, or you should know when you get into a relationship with a military person that this can be a challenge you have to face, and it has to be understanding from both sides. The person who is left behind and the person who has to move. It's challenging for both. I think I always been like on that mindset that you have to trust each other and like communication is key. I think it was pretty easy for me, even though I had a couple of crazy relationships. It was even more important for me in my new relationship that we trust each other and that I do especially everything with us. Yes. It's it also really helped that he's the open book. Like he's the type of person when we have arguments, he's gonna flip on the lights at midnight and be like, "We're gonna talk about this." So he's a very honest person. That really helped. He never gave me any concerns about like how we get so much to talk about everything. We talk about exes. We talk about our previous life. Everybody has a life before you get into a relationship, right? Yeah. You have to talk about everything and just be open.
I think it's important too. As we met pretty early, I feel like early in my military life, so I explained everything to her as it was happening. So when I went to TDY for the first time, she's like, "What do you mean you leave?" Well, going down the street, I gotta stay in the tent. I can't come home. That doesn't make any sense. I know welcome to the military, but like I have to pretend like I'm deployed. What, you're deploying? What does that mean? And I was like, "Oh, I'm not really deploying, but it's called civil flag. She's wondering how the colors of flags are. I don't know." But explaining everything, like having to grow up in the military with you kind of helps. I think if I was to get in a relationship now, being in 12 years, there will be some things like, "Okay, I go to TDY, I'll be back in a month." I might not have the grace that I was talking about earlier to give her, to kind of ease her into it and explain to her what that really means, what deployment means, what a 365 means, what I don't know when I'm getting off of work really means. Like, I think she's starting to get it now. We don't even know when we're getting off of work sometimes, but explaining.
Even if I don't understand, I'm just not going to listen. Yeah.
But she just stopped asking me now when I'm getting off of work. But I think explaining that with your partner, helping them grow in the military really helps a lot.
Also talking about it to talking to other spouses who are in the same boat. Like find people you can connect with and who understand your struggle. Especially when you have kids and your mom. Being a mom is tough, especially when your partner is away, your routines are usually together, you have to do all by yourself. So it's definitely worth to find moms who understand your struggle.
Can I ask you a question? What's your biggest challenge with the whole topic? Long distance relationships and everything like that. What was your biggest challenge navigating?
The biggest challenge for me was when he was on short tour. I was pregnant. I had to take care of a toddler who had lots of energy, and I was constantly tired. On top of handling all like PCS and stuff, because the year goes by fast, and I had to, handle all the paperwork and all the like selling the car, getting the apartment ready. While pregnant and having a smaller child, I think that was probably the hardest challenge we had in our relationship. I went through it. I went through it. Something you can't change, you just have to take. And I cried. I mean, there was a couple days I was crying. We were talking, and he was pretty good support. He, answered every time the phone. I needed him to answer the phone. Again, we were open book, so he knew I was struggling, and he tried to be helpful.
You got a great husband.
I did.
You got a great. He described everything about you to a T before you and the kids walked in. And then you came on the stage and said the exact same thing that he said. That's how I know that you guys are really in sync and in tune. And it's good because I know Rome wasn't built in one day. So I know it took some time and it took a lot of work for you guys to get to the point that y'all are at now. And I can just commend you guys. I like to see it because I know the work that has to go and happen back door behind the scenes. So it's beautiful to see.
Thank you guys.
Good. Can we clap it up for
help get this set up how we got it set up right now. We're gonna add it all week. So I do want to say thank you guys. In the midst of it, on the scene, I want to give you flowers while things are going right now. But thank you guys. It took a lot. So on this one, man, I think it's how many are there? I'm the oldest of four, so I got my brother and my sister. My dad got 2 kids, so that's about, golly, I know, that's a lot. Man, I think like my mom, I'm the oldest of four, so that's 14 just alone. I count the relationship that we've been in, so let's just say 20.
And I'm bad at that already. Like, I already told her she's really good. Like, she knows all my nieces and nephews' birthdays. She knows like when they graduated, whatever. She's like good to go and calls and sends stuff out. I really got on the family end of that. Luckily, my family comes out busy. I've been overseas the whole time. And then romantic relationships. Maybe 4 long distance before I'm a big thing is like learning from each other, especially like where I'm from. So learn from those so that they have to do the same thing in the next relationship. So that's what I was interested in. What about you? How long have you been?
How long?
Well, I've been in the military 5 years.
What about
So
before?
5 and a half. Right? I mean, prior to that, I was really close to my family, so I wasn't too far from any. Like, if I was far, it was close to another family. So it was like at least close enough that they can come to visit. But now, as we're older and everything, they have family and stuff like that. So, as we all know, it's hard to travel with family, especially with young kids and stuff like that. Because now you're thinking one to you're thinking. So thinking like right. So it's like okay, and me being it's easier if I go than and plan ahead, how to make sure that it's not going to interfere with anything else. And so it's hard, but it's getting easier. At least in the this is only one that we've been 20 plus years. Right? And then of course thinking 2 steps ahead so I think it's planning, at least for me, in the stage that I'm in right now, the planning aspect is what's important. And I also celebrate birthdays and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's like those random days when you're scrolling on something on Facebook and say, happy birthday, so ooh, hey, happy birthday. But again, my family, at least, the ones that are really close to me, they understand. And so they're like, hey, I'm so sorry to leave with you. They're like, you're in Japan, like, first off, time zone is different. Like, you're in the military, I don't even know how days go for you. I'm like, we're actually almost 26. Like, it's crazy. So, like, having them understanding their end is not, it's 2 different worlds. That also makes sense.
You said something. You're saying something you like normally do when they come and go, and there's a lot of travel. It is, but I can feel the same way about it. But sometimes I do get in the mix because, like, I feel like, dang, things sometimes feel a little one sided. Because, like, why am I the only one that's always traveling? Why you're opened up to come and see me as well, So I think so you don't fall into that mindset, you have to be able to have that understanding with the people on the other side. Like it takes 2 to be in that relationship, and it takes a community to keep that relationship going. And you guys said that earlier. That's one thing that I used to always have to deal with. Like I was in New Mexico, and to drive was $15. I used to drive home on a $15 drive on a 3-day weekend. So mind you, I spent 1 day just on the road. To go home and be with family. That's when I first joined the military. And then as I kind of got over into the hood and everything like that, but you can't just do that up the road like you want to. I started realizing, man, I was the only one initiating things, you know, why, you know, and you kind of want to look at things on the other side of it. On the other, you want to look at, you want to put your foot in the other shoe, but then you realize things like, is it one sided? Why am I putting it? But maybe I understand the situation, and in this situation right now, in our relationship, this is just how we're able to navigate. Is it going to be the same with every relationship that I walk into and do? No. So I guess just knowing and understanding what you're in, that's going to also help you with the person that you're dealing with as well. It's family. What's up?
You have to teach them. Because you said when you first met, you were traveling, right? So you said you were initiating. So if you were initiating it, again, the counterparts, they don't know that it's too much of a thing, right? They just think, you know, oh, I'm going to visit and you have people come, right? So you kind of, again, that communication is just like, hey, I'm glad to come see you guys and everything, but it's kind of hard for me too. So I need you guys to be a part because some people, it's not just going to click right away until you say something that's like, oh, sorry, we didn't know that it was that. I just thought that you know, like a drive you, this is your time for yourself, or you know, that hey, when you're flying over to us, it's because you want to maybe get away from your environment, stuff like that. So like for me, when I do go home, like I'll go home, and then I'll let everybody know, like, hey, I'm gonna be on leave home at this time. If you don't want to come see me, because I already came this month, this far, like, you know, and stuff like that. And those who want to come see me and, you know, have to go continue. Maybe not for you, but like, but again, like, letting me know so that way, like, later on, when you do say, hey, like, I can't come see you, like, we've already spoken about this, they can't come see you. We didn't, you told. And that communication piece is there now, where it's like, is it something for them to look at and say, okay, is it me? Really expecting me to go all the way instead of like meeting or coming like to you very much. You know what I mean? So
And I think you mentioned it earlier, having that type of conversation, like having those type of conversations with the ones that we say mean so much to us, so they understand, hey, this actually means a lot to me, but this is how I'm feeling in this moment. I don't want to overlook it because it does make me feel some type of way. I want to talk about the emotion that I'm feeling, but I don't want to offend you. But hey, can you meet me in the middle, or can we find a way to both, you know, find something to work? I think that's how you really get over it and navigate long distance, navigate really any type of relationship. You have to meet each other in the middle because we both separate human beings. So we both want to go through different things and want different things for ourselves. But if we're gonna say, hey, we're in a relationship or we doing this together, how are we gonna make it work? And that's the uncomfortable conversation, or really a conversation that needs to be had. But a lot of deeper conversations that need to take place with substance that are genuine and you know they come from the heart. And that's what really that's how I go about things. You know, anything that I do is genuine because I'm doing it from the heart. And I'm not going to put my name. I'm not going to do anything that I really don't want to do. Because you're not going to get the real authentic version of me. Because I'm just there. And I'm just going through the motions. I don't like that. I want to be real upfront with you. Like, hey, this is David. This is how Brad. Who the case may be, but you're getting 100% me. And, you know, I'm passionate about a lot of things that I do, so that's how I go about it. In every manner of life, you know, relationships, whatever it is. That's why I love doing what we're doing right now. When we create a space where we can have conversations with those things.
I've said this word a bunch of times, grace, right? We don't all have the same 24 hours. And it's true. For example, Asia, where do you work, Asia? All right, so she worked LRS, right? You work CE, right? So we work a lot harder than them, right? So no, no, what I'm saying, what I'm getting at is, right? My wife came up here and talked about how she had to get pregnant. I take care of my daughter, take her to school, pack up everything. I'm getting up. I go to PT, work. I was in Portugal. We was having coffee. I'm relaxing. One thing that she didn't mention is like there was times that I felt guilty to like go out with my friends because I knew how stressed she was back at home. Right? right? So I just giving each other the grace of like understanding we have like different, our days look totally different. And she mentioned like not questioning like, hey, text me back, hey, text me good morning, it's 6:01, I know you was up at 6 o'clock. Like not being like that. Because I had relationships like that, and I was like, all right, cool, I don't get to go to work because, like I said, I don't even know when I'm going to work, like when I'm getting off. So, giving each other grace and understanding and being able to explain what you got going on. I think we talked about like expressing our emotions, especially if you were raised to express yourself totally different, and you get in the military and you're expecting like, all right, cool, I was told that I have to suppress my feelings, and you join the military, especially the Air Force, and they're like, hey, hold on. Why are you acting like that? What's going on? Like, no excuse. No. I want to know, like, why are you off of it? Oh, shoot. I didn't know I get this far. All right, cool. I remember the first time I had a supervisor pull me to the side and I was like, oh, why are you snapping on people? Say, get it done. I was like, yeah. It's your coworker. You ain't got to talk to them like that. What you got going on? And then start peeling the layers back. And it really surprised me that in the military we care about the why of people, right? I learned something, and again, Dr. P, this is some bad pop psychology, you tell me. If you ask why, you put people in a situation, like if they're wrong, if they're off, or they're missing the mark below the standard, you ask why, you put them in a position to get defensive. But if you ask them what happened, then that gives them an opportunity to explain a lot better and not be defensive, right? So that's something I'm starting to work with, especially with my little one over there. So I'm like, hey, why don't we do this and this? You know, she started already blaming the little baby. He just started walking, right? But I said, hey, we said we're not going to do this and this. What happens? It gives us a little bit more threshold to talk. The same deal, like my romantic relationship at work. I'm asking Aaron, like, hey, I thought we said we wanted the trucks filled up. You say you didn't want to handle it. What happened? Versus if I came in there, why wasn't this done? Right now, everybody start pointing fingers. I'm under there. Someone getting a big one, right? Yeah. So kind of consider that too in your relationships, whether that be platonic, with your family, or with your loved one. If there is a boundary, if there's a boundary set for yourself, and there's a rule you set within that relationship, remember they're your partner, they're on the same team. So kind of consider what it's like to be on the other side of you. Because like I said earlier, we don't always have the same support.
You did the intro, you want to do the outro too? It's been an hour. Yeah. Time flies when you pass it down.
All right, but before we close out this, before we close out this episode, is anyone else in the audience or virtually that's listening in right now, is there any last party that you guys have that you guys didn't get a chance to answer and speak about? Questions? Any last advice?
So if there's anything that I would say,
Chief Charles, want to say something?
if there is anything that I would say, especially for the couples that are thinking about getting married and bringing your spouse into this military lifestyle, have the conversation upfront with them about what your intentions are. So, for example, before I married my wife, one of the things that I sat down and I said, look, if before we get married, this is what so these are my goals, these are my aspirations, and these are the things that I'm thinking about getting after. Now, bringing you into that, I need to know if, first of all, we need to be on the same accord. And as we navigate through this, I want to ensure that we're consistently and we're together on the decision that not only have I made, but you're also making the decision to go along with what I have introduced and kind of what I have stated. Because now at any given point to where we come to a crossroads, this has nothing to do with me saying, hey, well, you signed up for this. this is a conversation of, remember, we hold and breathe and we fall into this at this point in time. So now, as we navigate, because whatever you have in life is always going to be challenged. So when the challenges come, we need to be able to go through those together because this is what we decided. It wasn't one-sided. So just remember, the more conversations, and I think that that's why Nanny brought up a really good point about being open with your communication and being honest enough with each other to where there's a shortcoming that comes up, addressing it together versus taking it and kind of backing away. That right there is going to lead to success, and also it also will create an environment that is healthier, especially for those of you that have kids. Now, one thing I will say before I pass the mic over, we do a great job a lot of times of talking about the separation and everything, like with the parents and everything, with the married couples that have kids and small kids and things like that in the home. But don't forget what happens once those kids leave out of the home. Now they become empty nesters. And now, since the spouse, male or female, whoever is at home now, they don't have those responsibilities and everything that they had before. So now they have to reinvent or recreate themselves and find time to fill that void. So don't forget about that because that's a completely different conversation that we don't have time to go into today.
Wow. Dr. P, Dr. P.
Well, first, let me just say that you guys are totally right, right? None of what you said in toxicology, everything is spot on, right? Which is why I'm not jumping over there going like, you guys are totally right. But one thing that I really kind of want to focus on is which was about intentionality. Love that stuff, right? You have to be, if you're intentional about things, you will get it done, no matter what it is. Whether it's connecting with family, connecting with other people, getting the job done, doesn't matter what it is. You will get it done as long as you're intentional about it. But I want to take a step back from that and say that first you have to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you can't really be intentional about it, right? And that brings us back to values. You have to know what your values are. And once you know what your values are, then you go get them, right? Then you're intentional about it. Like if your values are your family, even if you're halfway across the world, you intentionally follow up and make sure you have those connections with your family. If your values are growing as a person, you intentionally sign up for some classes and you learn some new stuff, or maybe you go explore the island, or whatever it is that makes you grow as a person, right? So I definitely want to kind of highlight the values and exploring what are those things that you value in life. And I think, that's usually more challenging for younger folks usually, because when you're younger, you're not usually self-reflecting upon what I value. You just have to go, right? But I feel like what we really need to do is focus in and ask those questions. What is it that I value in life? And then being intentional about going to get it. So I appreciate you guys. Again, talking about psychology, you guys are rocking it.
All right, appreciate it, sir.
Can you press the top button? I want to value
She's a really
Oh my God. All right. Anybody else? All right. And again, just to overview, right? Communication is key. Intentionality is key. Knowing what you want is the start of it all, and then going from there. But open communication, learning to be your own person, even before moving forward with any relationship. And then again, speaking, talking, knowing what is going to happen so that planning stages as well is important. And at the end of the day, we all don't have the same 24 hours, but how we pass the time is up to us. And with that being said, again, your host Shay, we got Davion, we got George, and thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next month for the next episode. Till then, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.